By the power invested in me as some idiotic nobody off the internet, I hereby declare it time for another self-indulgent instalment of terrible old games you've probably never heard of. Way back in 1989, when men were men and grasshoppers ran small businesses, Imagine Software released a game called Renegade 3 for the ZX Spectrum. I bought it, and it scarred me for life. But to fully understand the horrors of Renegade 3, we have to travel back further still. To 1986, in fact. The Japanese company Technos released an arcade game called Neketsu Kowa Kunio-kun. You controlled a young man who ran around beating the crap out of various school gangs because they kept punching his brother. Personally, I would have tried to work out why my brother was being systematically assaulted by every gang in the city, but that's just me. Anyway, the game was drastically altered for its release outside Japan. It was retitled Renegade, and the graphics were reworked with a gritty New York feel, suspiciously reminiscent of cult 70s movie The Warriors. The plot was changed too. Rather than constantly avenging your gang-baiting sibling, you were off to rescue your kidnapped girlfriend. Fair enough. Now, Renegade wasn't really very good. It had a weird control system, and the whole thing was a bit of a fiddly mess. But it was fairly popular in the arcades, so Imagine Software bought the rights to make conversions for the home computers of the time. And a damn fine job they did too. I bought Renegade for the Spectrum, and it was brilliant. In fact, it's one of my favourite games ever. The controls made more sense, and there was none of the faffing around running everywhere that plagued the original. All the nifty bits from the arcade are still present, like the bikers trying to run you over and the giant pimp woman from level 3, but now it was a lot more fun to play. Plus, it's probably the only Spectrum game where you can knee somebody in the groin and then throw them off a pier. Now, the arcade people pretty much gave up on Renegade. Technos went on to make Double Dragon, and the original Kunio-kun turned into a franchise. It spawned River City Ransom and about 40 other games. But there was no love for future Renegade installments in a coin-guzzling environment. However, the home versions of Renegade were such a success that Imagine Software themselves produced a sequel the next year, written by the same people who converted the original. It was called Target Renegade, and the plot this time had you tracking down Mr. Big, who was a very naughty man that killed Renegade's journalist brother. And again, this was a mighty fine game. The levels were much larger than the original, you could now pick up weapons from fallen enemies, and there was a simultaneous two-player option. Overall, it did get a bit drawn out and repetitive, but it was still a great game. Plus, it's probably the only Spectrum game where you can panic a pimp into shooting one of his own prostitutes in the back. So, what have we learned so far? The name Renegade was synonymous with quality and fun on the Spectrum, and everybody was happy. It's a good thing they never made another sequel that was a load of old crap. Except, of course, they did. In 1989, Imagine excreted Renegade 3, the final chapter, onto cassette tapes and sold them in game shops. To say it wasn't up to the standard of the first two games is a crushing understatement. The first warning sign was that it was written by different people this time round. The second warning sign was that the plot involved time travel. Yes, really. For no discernible reason whatsoever, Renegade's long-suffering girlfriend has been kidnapped by some weirdos with a time machine, and our hero has to travel back to various points in history looking for her. I mean, come on, time travel? Why? It's so unnecessary. Look, this is how desperate cash-in sequels usually go. We've got Renegade, Renegade 2, Renegade World Tour, Renegade in Space, then Renegade Through Time. Why did they skip straight from Step 2 to Step 5? Anyway, now we've established that Renegade 3 didn't so much jump the shark as repeatedly jump up and down on the shark while screaming, "Look at me, I'm Mr. Jumpy Sharko," let's get on to the game itself. Because at the end of the day, if this game was good, we could forgive the ridiculous plot. That's a big if. Let's play it, shall we? Right, the game takes place over 4 levels. The first is prehistoric. Here we go. Let's see what happens. Have a wander around. Oh, his eggs dropping already in little dinos. There's Captain Caveman rip-off smacking me. Climb up this ladder thing and jump. Oh, corruption. Notice the jump has no frames of animation, it just uses the walking one. Marvellous. Give the dinosaur a good shoeing there. Wander along a bit further. Do a flying kick by accident. Another jump. Dum-da-dum. You'll notice there's no point in actually fighting the enemies at all. You don't get anything out of it. You may as well just avoid them and therefore save time from the horrifying time limit at the bottom. Oh! Nope, couldn't jump that one. Too big. Right, back we go. Down this ladder that I've missed. No, he won't go down it. Go down it. Go down it. Yes. Ah, there we go. Marvellous. I'm having so much fun, he lied. Let's have a... What? Look at the top. There's a baby throwing a giant potato or something. What on earth is going on there? Oh, anyway, I'm going to have a bit of an attack just to... Oh, punch is useless. You can't be able to hit anything with it. Oh, well. I think the ducking punch is the only effective move. Right. Ah, this is the dreaded clearing. Every so often you reach a clearing and have to fight enemies to progress. Presumably because you don't have to fight them otherwise. No point really varying the moves. Can't do the flying kick. Why won't it do it? Ah, there we go. If we right at the top of the screen for some reason. Flying kick, you'll notice, breaks the game's collision detection and can in fact hit enemies who are miles off under the right circumstances. Nope, I'll get it to work now. Never mind. Let's try the ducking punch. Oh no. No. Yay, that's kind of worked. Nope, give him a kick. Go on, go on. Oh, I'm getting bored of this flying kick. I'll jump by accident now. Oh, just punch him or something. There we go. Kicky, kicky. Jumpy, jumpy. This is getting annoying now. Nope, didn't mean to punch. No, the flying kick's no good up close at all, is it? Right, let's go back to the ducking punch. Punch, 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 punch. And I'm about to lose energy and lose a life, hopefully. Kill him. Put him out of his misery. Ah, better. But no, he's straight up again. I can't stand this anymore. There's no variation. The collision detection is appalling. Oh, this is just absolute garbage and it's bringing back too many bad memories. Stop! Right, let's have a quick look at the other levels since they take place in different eras. Egyptian Zone. You fight mummies and Anubis clones and little mummies with big noses. Deadly goo drips from the sky occasionally. It's rubbish. Medieval Zone. You fight jesters, knights wielding swords and knights on hobby horses. Little dragons fly around everywhere. It's rubbish. Future Zone. You fight robots and aliens, I think. The graphics have degenerated into a bit of a mess at this stage, so it's hard to tell. Also, you keep getting stuck on the space ladders. It's rubbish. Oh, and before we move on, I'd like to point out the time limit. If you run out of time, it's game over immediately. It doesn't matter how many lives you have left. And the final level doesn't seem to actually give you enough time to complete it. Nice. Now, as previously stated, I spent nearly £9 on this game. Why did I do such a stupid thing, you ask? Was I mad in the head? Why didn't I wait for the magazine reviews to come out to see if it was any good? Well, here's the thing. I did. Back in 1989, I bought Crash magazine every month, which was arguably the most respected of the various Spectrum mags. Although with hindsight, that's probably just because it looked the most professional. Anyway, would you like to see what they gave it in their review? Here you go. 91%. That's 91 out of 100. That's ridiculous. And just to rub in how vomit-inducingly ill-informed the review is, it contains the line, "The latest in the Renegade series is also the best." Good grief. Let's have a look at what the other two big Spectrum magazines thought of it. Your Sinclair gave it a less ridiculous but still hideously overblown 79%, and also their screenshots were a bit iffy and seem to come from a pre-production version or something, as the medieval level is shown in yellow when it's white in the actual game. Sinclair User pretended it was worth 71% and again used weird wrong colour screenshots. In fact, they couldn't be asked for the screenshots at all. They constantly repeat them over a 2-page spread. This one's used twice, this one's used twice, this one's used twice, and this one is used a staggering 3 times. Oh, and it's also identical to one of the shots your Sinclair used, so it was probably one provided by the publisher. I've never worked out what happened with these review scores. Did nobody actually play the game? Were they scared to give it a proper score in case the publisher pulled their advertising? Were the reviewers just cretins? No idea. What I do know is that I saved up for 4 weeks to afford the game, and it provided almost no fun at all. However, it did teach me an important lesson, and I never again trusted professional reviews to give me an even vague hint of a game's quality. And, I hasten to add, it's not just me who felt like this about Renegade 3. If you ask about it on any British gaming forum, you can find someone who was burned by it. In fact, here's Richie Harkness from gaming site Piao, who kindly agreed to talk into the camera about it.
Renegade 3, what can I say about it? Well, firstly, Crash, probably the most respected magazine at that point in Specky history, turned around and gave it a crash smash and said it was worth 91%. So obviously I thought, this is going to be fucking great. Then, unfortunately, it turned out to be complete shit for numerous reasons. I mean, you could say that the monochrome graphics, the awful time-travelling plot, the lack of two-player co-op, the really awful platforming bits, the time limits, the move set that no longer had the back kick, the shoulder throw, and basically just, well, everything about it was pretty horrendous. Anyway, worst fucking game ever. Probably the worst thing to happen in gaming in my lifetime.
I feel your pain, brother. Anyway, that's more than enough about bloody Renegade 3. It remains one of the most depressing moments in video game history. We can only hope that those responsible suffer from annoying head colds on a frequent basis. But wait! Because actually that's not enough about Renegade 3. Whilst making this video I began to wonder what the other home versions were like. You see, back in those days the three major formats had vastly different technical capabilities. Here's Amstrad-owning TV presenter bloke Larry Bundy Jr., who rather predictably is going to tell us about the Amstrad CPC version.
Dr. Ashton's rang me up the other day. He asks, Larry, how come they don't make Renegade games anymore? So I went on eBay and bought myself a copy of Renegade 3, the final chapter, on the Amstrad CPC. And it was shit! That's why they don't make Renegade games anymore. You want some proof? Come and have a look at this. At first you'll think the Amstrad has the best graphics of all three versions. But no. On closer inspection you're horrified to see they're a pixelated mess, as if the game was trying to hide its identity on an episode of Crime Watch. So I won't go any possible jokes on Hanna-Barbera copyright-infringing Captain Caveman rip-offs, as they look more like flumps in this version, and I've no clue who owns them. But the sheer fact after two great games that this game exists is just beyond belief. Oh dear me.
And representing the Commodore 64 we've got John Blythe, a games writer who once looked like he was going to win an award.
If you thought the Spectrum version was bad, the Commodore 64 version adds ever-draining health. Bizarrely for a human, you regenerate health by killing things. So to stay alive, you have to punch a caveman to death every 4 seconds. If you ever do bother to finish the game and save your girlfriend, which you won't, it'd serve you right if you'd messed up the timeline so badly that she was a gigantic fly with a single cyclopic breast, firing sad milk from the tear duct of an eyeball that was silently begging for the release of death, which incidentally is how this game makes you feel. Luckily that won't happen. A combination of crap collision detection, multi-load levels and ineffective attacks means that no decent person will ever finish it. Behold the devastating inaccuracy of the flying miss kick, and witness the furious impotence of the angry yet inadequate shoot. This isn't really a move, it's Renegade going down a ladder, but it looks rude and that's funny. And here's some footage of the second level to prove I played it for a bit. The final chapter is hard, frustrating, fun-free and unfair. If you want me to give it a score because you haven't really been listening, then I give Renegade 3 this noise.
As a matter of interest, Zap magazine awarded the Commodore 64 version we just saw 90%, although their review page also contained a sketch of a farting giraffe, so you can see the sort of level they were working at. So, in conclusion, Renegade 3, the final chapter, was utter crap on all formats. Let us never speak its name again. But wait, because I've just discovered there was apparently another home version released for the MSX. Oh, sod that.